One more. All right, come on up. Damien? Okay. What did I say? Damon? It's close enough. Mike. Yeah, you can go there for now. Sure. Okay. So, he bought my level 3 diagnostic. Also, that's also a reason why it's important to use the book, because there should be different levels of diagnostics. Make sure you're using the proper level. Don't just use the lowest one because you think hopefully they'll buy it if it's the lower one. Don't do that. You're just devaluing yourself. Also, if you sell a diagnostic, your diagnostic shouldn't take more than 2 or 3 hours tops. I've had guys call me and they'll be like, yeah, I've been here for 6 hours and I can't find where the break in the wire is. I stopped him. I said, what do you mean? He's like, I go, is there power at one point and not power at the other? He says, yeah. No, you completed your diagnostic. You found out there's a break from point A to B. Give them a solution to fix it. You don't need to find the actual spot it broke. Okay? Again, guys, get out of your own way. All the customer needs to know is that the power is here and it's not here. We have to get a wire from here to here. That's all they need to know. You don't have to bust open the wall and show them the exact spot that the mouse chewed through it or it broke or whatever the case may be. Or the buried junction box in the wall or the ceiling. You don't have to do that. You have to diagnose what happened and how to fix it. That's it. So it should be like 2 or 3 hours. You shouldn't need to spend 6, 7, 8 hours doing a diagnostic. Okay? Okay, so he chose the level 3, or I told him that's what he falls into. He agreed to do it. Once they buy the diagnostic, now you go in your truck and grab all the frickin' tools you want to grab. Now they're paying you for your knowledge. They're paying you for your time. Go get your tools now then, okay? But up to this point, I wouldn't bring any tools in the house. They haven't paid for it. Because if you bring tools into the house before you sell a diagnostic, you're going to get yourself in trouble. You're going to start pulling things apart, testing things, and before you know it, you're doing a diagnostic without getting paid for it. Okay? So, he bought that. I am now going to pull out every outlet and every switch accessible on that circuit. Did you hear what I said? Every outlet and every switch. If you know the breaker of that circuit, shut it off before you pull everything out. Why is that? Partly, yes. That's one of the reasons. I want to get the homeowner off the outlet, onto the circuit, onto the whole house. Remember, I keep saying that. If you leave the power on, and I get it, troubleshooting a circuit live is way easier. We've all been taught this, and I get it. But what happens when you pull out, let's just say all 4 of these outlets aren't working. And I pull out this one, and I'll say the lights. I pull out this one. I pull out this one, and boom, the lights all come on, and everything seems to start working after I pull this one out. What goes on in my mind as an electrician? This is the one. And here's what's going to happen. You're going to talk to the homeowner, and you're going to stand by this one. And you're going to tell them all the problems with this one. And what happens in the customer's mind? This is the problem. This outlet is the problem. Don't do that. Shut the breaker off if you can. Then pull everything out on the circuit. Then turn the breaker back on and start testing. Now, if it's working, you don't know which one it is. And then you won't start talking about this one or that one because you literally don't know which one it is. You just know one of them is loose because you pulled them all out. And it's safer, even though I'm old school and don't care, but that's me. Okay? So, do yourself a favor because, again, If you think it's that one, then the customer is going to think it's that one. You're going to point to that one. And you're literally screwing yourself by doing that. So, if you know the breaker, shut it off, pull all the outlets, all the switches out, turn the breaker back on, then do all your testing. All right? After you do that, let's say it's all backstabbed. I call it the $1 million outlet. Take a brand new outlet out of your truck. Strip your wire, wrap it around the screw, tighten it down like you should. The other wire, strip it, backstab it, and then just bend the end of the wire. When you're explaining the problems to these, you're going to have your $1 million outlet. So, I wouldn't go to this one. I wouldn't go to this one. In fact, if you really want to get it through the homeowner's mind, go to a whole nother outlet that they didn't even tell you about. Just to prove the point that it's not an outlet problem, it's not a circuit problem, it's a whole house problem. You could take them to a whole nother room and another backstab in a whole nother room that has nothing to do with this one, then explain your backstabs, your problems, and everything with your $1 million outlet. So 50% of people will buy something if they touch it. So if I'm standing here and I have my $1 million outlet, come on over here, Mike. And I have this outlet here and I'm explaining what backstab connections are. So here's how I would do it. I would say, so Mike, do you see how the wires here are kind of jammed in the back of these outlets?
I do see that.
And see how this one is here? And see how this one is and this one is? And then I'd bring them over to another room and another room and another room and I'd show them all these. And then I would have my $1 million outlet in my hand. And I would say, now, Mike, you see how this wire's wrapped around the screw and it's tightened really down really hard with a screwdriver? Can you feel how rigid that wire is?
Oh, wow.
And it feels really rigid. I like the expressions. Now this one is stripped and just jammed in the back. Can you kind of feel how that one is?
Feels loose.
And he's going to grab the hook that I bent, and it's just going to kind of twist and flop around in there like a backstab does. And I'll say, yeah, this is the kind you have in your whole house.
Oh, no.
And so, and the other thing is this is a brand new outlet. Yours have been in here for 20 years. And what happens is we get different temperatures so it can expand and contract, and these connections can actually get worse and worse and worse over time. So what happens is the power comes from your electrical panel. It comes in one bad connection, it goes out another bad connection. Then it goes in a bad connection, out another bad connection, so on and so forth. And all it takes is for one of those, any one in any one of these to fail, and the rest all go out. It's kind of like the old Christmas lights. When you'd pull one light out, the rest would stop working. Kind of the same thing. Mm-hmm. So what we need to do is we need to install all new outlets, all new switches, wrap all the connections properly, get them all done properly in your whole house, and then by doing that, we'll also have FireGuard protection on there. What FireGuard protection is, it's actually an electronic circuit breaker, and it sends tests through the wiring all the time looking for the start of a fire. And if it senses it, it'll shut the entire circuit down.
Okay.
So that's what FireGuard protection is.
And is that all included with my diagnostic fee?
No, so this all is over and above that. We got bigger issues. Now, if you just had one outlet that was wired wrong, and it was just that one, that would be included. That's one minor repair. But you got your whole house is wired this way.
I see.
Yeah. I have a couple other things I'd like to show you. Do you mind if I talk to you about those?
Absolutely.
Okay. So notice I just built a wall between what he called me for, and now I'm going to go into the other things that I found in the house. And I guess I didn't mention this before, but when you sell a diagnostic, you're going to open up all the outlets, all the switches on the circuit. Then you're going to do your safety inspection form. You're going to do that during the diagnostic because you're getting paid for it. And it helps build value and burns up time in case you found this out very quickly. So now you're going to do your full electrical safety inspection. Then you're going to write up your options. Then you're going to do your show and tell like I'm doing now. I hope I'm not confusing everybody too much. So let me just back up real quick so I'm not confusing everybody. He bought the diagnostic. I brought my tools in. I opened up the whole circuit. I found out he has backstab connections. I found the problem. Then I'm going to pull out my electrical safety inspection sheet with your different color bubbles. And I'm going to fill that out. I'm going to do that whole thing. Then I'm going to write my options. Then I'm going to grab my homeowner and start doing my show and tell. Okay? Okay. So we're at the show and tell. I showed him this. And then I'll say, okay, so why don't we go back upstairs and I can kind of show you some, I didn't go through the safety stuff yet, sorry. So that's what's going on. That's why your outlets aren't working anymore. I have a few other concerns about the house. Do you mind if I share those with you?
No, you should show me.
Okay, great. So over here, you'll notice that, now you said you've been living here for 10 years, is that correct?
Yeah, that is correct.
Have you ever changed any of the smoke alarms in the house at all?
I haven't.
Okay, that's what I thought. So I actually took them down. They're actually all about 15 years old. Nobody makes a smoke alarm that can be used longer than 10 years. Mm-hmm. And so do you see how yellow these are getting here?
Yeah, is that not good?
Well, nobody actually makes a yellow smoke alarm. So there's actually radioactive technology in there, and some of the radioactive stuff has came out of that and is actually discoloring that alarm. And so they're not probably working like they should.
That's not
And if you have a fire, you're probably going to want those, right? Mm-hmm. It's like a seatbelt. You don't really care about it until you need it, right? Same type of thing. So what I proposed also is I gave you a price to put in all new smoke detectors in your home. Also, I noticed that you didn't have any carbon monoxide alarms in your house. Is that right?
I do not.
Okay, so built into your new smoke alarm system will be carbon monoxide detection also. Okay. So if it senses that, when one goes off, it sends a signal out for all of them to go off to get you out of the house as quick as possible.
Awesome.
Then I would go to all the other safety stuff in the house. Show them shock guard protection, bubble covers, whatever else you find. And then you end on the electrical panel. The last thing is the panel. So we'll bring him to my electrical panel. And I'll say now, your electrical panel is about, 32 years old based on the age of the house, you said?
Okay. So
a couple of the concerns I have with your electrical panel is that it's very outdated. Mm-hmm. Nothing in this, the one thing I noticed, you don't have any whole house surge protection. And what that means is that if you were to get a lightning strike in the area or like a power company sent a surge through, you could burn all the electronics in your home. And we're not just talking about TVs and computers. We're talking about dishwashers, garbage disposals, obviously TVs, computers, microwaves, furnaces, air conditioners, doorbells, irrigation control systems, smoke alarms. Like, we're talking almost everything has an electronic chip in it now. Mm-hmm. And so if it takes a large enough surge, you can lose all those things. So a new electrical panel would have that. The other thing you don't have is you don't have any fire guard protection in your home. And what that is that we went from, you ever seen the old screw-in fuses that were really, really old that were in houses? Yeah. So we went from those to the breakers you have here. So these breakers you have are 1960s technology. That's what these are. Yeah. The new breakers are fire guard breakers, and they actually send tests through the wiring all the time looking for the start of a fire. If it senses that, it'll actually shut the entire circuit down before a fire starts. Mm. And they actually have been required in all new homes for over 20 years now. And so I would recommend that we get you a new panel with that technology all built into it to make your home safe.
Sounds good, yeah.
Okay. So I came up with some different options. My top option is everything I talked about. It is a larger dollar amount. Don't shoot the messenger. I just want to let you know that. But why don't we go ahead and go through that?
I'd love to.
Okay. Notice I'm not selling an electrical panel because it's old. I'm selling it because it's outdated. It's different. We used to be like, if a panel's over than 15 years old, you should propose a new one to a homeowner, even if it looks brand new. And I know all of you had a hard time presenting that, didn't you? But if it's outdated or obsolete, thank you, there's another one. Just because you can get replacement breakers for it doesn't mean it's not obsolete, because the main breaker they may not make anymore, like a GE Slim panel. You can get breakers, but you can't get the mains anymore. So it's obsolete. You can literally tell them, if you have a GE Slim, you can literally tell them you can't get parts for this anymore, because you can't get the main breaker anymore. Old Square D panels, you can't get the main breakers anymore. So just because they still make the individual breakers replacement breakers doesn't mean it's not obsolete. Use the word obsolete. Use the words you can't get parts for this anymore. Use those terms when you're talking about panels that they don't make the main breakers anymore. All right?